Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm going to do this thing that I do over here because I like the idea that when people come, they are greeted properly. So I've got more conversation today about the give and the get. And the reason I want to kind of stay on it is because, we had a pretty amazing time. We had a pretty amazing time on Sunday. And so did everybody. So did everybody. And that is quite a remarkable thing. So just before I get started, I'm going to have a sip. I'm going to have a sip of this. Not nearly as amazing as Sunday, but an excellent way to start a conversation. So for any of you who are joining us for the first time, my name is Abby Hagyard, and normally in that corner, there is a mannequin with my mom costume from You Can't Do That on Television, but she's still waiting to be unpacked from our event, as is a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not looking at it. And I was, for a time, accidentally sidelined, tripped over an opportunity to go into show business. And I had a wonderful experience, a wonderful first hello at a career path that is exciting, exhilarating, and sometimes a little terrifying. And as with everything, ebb, flow, ebb, flow. And because I live in Ottawa, remarkably, because I live in Ottawa, usually there's not a lot of work going on. Remarkably, during that whole You Can't Do That on Television, Care Bears, Teddy Ruxpin, Marvel Comics, and during that whole time, Ottawa was hopping. We were the busiest place anywhere for all kinds of weird, strange, coincidental economic reasons, cross-border and the different cities in Canada. So we were very fortunate and very certainly very grateful for the opportunity. When that ebbed, I shifted into two other directions. The first one was kind of how I began. I began as a writer. I began as somebody who put on stage shows. So writer, producer, and then performer, live events, coach kids who think they want to be in the business, write scripts, write projects, help other people with their projects. And then this odd thing happened, which you wouldn't think would be normal, especially when you, if you saw the way I looked on television and the way I behaved on television and in some of the stage shows. I started to get a lot of people with companies, small business in that, like say under 500 employees, but very successful, long-term companies, family-owned businesses who were recommended to me by someone who said, I know she's funny. You need to listen to how strategically funny she is, because it's the strategy behind it that changes the game. So as a result of that, it's a thing a lot of people don't know. I actually rebranded a bunch of companies that I had no idea what they did or why they did it or how they did it. Because of course it isn't the product they sell. It is why they need to connect in a refreshing way with the people who are their clients, their customers, their providers, why we need to keep refreshing our relationships. And no one really thinks about that when they're thinking about business. There is an expression, all business is personal. There's another expression, all business is show business. The actual underlying message in that is that all business is a relationship. All relationships are survival tactics that people have used since the dawn of time, because we are not the strongest physical species. We're not always the smartest or the fastest physical species. And so we went for safety in numbers and strategic positioning. And we're very good at that. So if it's true in nature, if it's true in life, they say art imitates life, so does business. You have to come up with ways to keep your customers excited to see you. you have to keep them feeling this is the best place. Every time I come here, it's the best decision I made all day. That is really what all the rebranding is about. It's not new and improved. I Because as soon as I see new and improved, I say, well, why have you been selling me second-rate stuff all this time? And now you've annoyed me. What it really is a conversation saying, I've always liked you. Here's why. And to re-explain to people who, we all got busy lives, and some of them, there are moments in everyone's life that are a bit tedious and not necessarily boring, but certainly tedious. And what we need is a forgiveness of that. And when we did the event on Sunday, the Fanatic Con event on Sunday, I added a couple of layers to the event that nobody saw coming, and they created their desired outcome. And probably, I was saying fifth time was a charm. Probably it took me that much time to realize where my gold nuggets were, and how I needed to tap into them and use them to give everybody the thing that they were looking for and didn't know, right? There's something this morning about that warm on my throat. It feels really good. So Ellen and I we're talking before the show. And then, of course, during the show, there we all are, 10 of us in a booth, 42 of us in a booth. And then after the show, I mean, in fact, we're going to have a chat this afternoon. And it was her key phrase that kept kind of percolating in my head. And that is that any event that is worthwhile, any experience that is worthwhile, any situation, any person that we remember with a smile, it's because somehow when we are connected to that person, place, or thing, the product of that is joy. Somebody brings the joy, whether it's a natural, you rub two sticks together and you get joy. Whatever the catalyst is, joy is the lasting, energizing thread. And we don't have enough of it. We simply don't have enough of it because we forget to go get it. It's easy. You know how you make a grocery list and you say, oh, I'll remember toilet paper. How could I forget toilet paper? And then we forget toilet paper. And then we go back to the store because, by the way, toilet paper. So the thing I wanted to talk about today was things that are contagious and why they are contagious and how we can take advantage of that, because they guide directly into the give and the get. And this, I think, is a powerful thing to talk about. We have a lot of very high stress, high anxiety, difficult, costly, confusing events taking place right now. I mean, all over the world, all the time. On the opposite side of an easy day is going to be a difficult day. That's normal. We are having some storms. We are having some flooding. We are having some infrastructure difficulties in almost every major city. The reason, well, to a certain extent, the infrastructure problems are ours to own. We put off doing all the ugly chores. Ask me how keen I am to do the dusting and the ironing. Go ahead, ask me. Never mind, don't ask me. And so, who wants to take all this money that we've pulled for taxes and spend it on things like, digging up a road because that makes everybody happy in order to make sure the pipes are okay? Why don't we just wait until one of the pipes bursts and then do it? See, is what nobody actually phrases it that way, but that is what happens because it's boring and it's no fun. However, if we haven't paved the roads, if we haven't had our engineers go in and make sure, I've got a hair sticking up. I look like somebody startled me. Just the one hair though. So when we don't make sure the bridges are okay, we don't make sure the tunnels are okay, when we don't make sure the basement is okay, we're cruising for it. We really are. We're just standing there saying, "Give me your best shot." So the better thing to do is to allocate the time and allocate the money and do it in dribs and drabs, do it in steps and stages. Very, very good friend of mine, longtime friend of mine, I don't know what kind of, I guess he was an architectural engineer. I guess that was it in his chosen profession. And when he retired from all of the things he did, and he and his lovely wife went to live in a condo, an older seniors building, he got himself on the board and he became the one because he wanted to live in comfort and security. And he got himself elected to be the one who maintained and scheduled all of the maintenance and repairs. And people were, well, good morning, Freddie. How wonderful to hear from you. And the reason, check engine light, it'll fix itself. Yes, right. The check engine light. Yeah, I must put a Band-Aid over that. I keep forgetting. Um, why is that on? I have this new car. And the other day, why do I share the embarrassing things? The other day, I got in the car. Greg and I were packing our cars to take everything over to the con, right? Got in the car and I realized that there was a light on the dash. I'd never seen it before. And I'm looking at it, I think, well, what the hell is that? And I said, Greg, what's this? I'm a little worried. He comes over and he looks at it and he says, come with me, get out of the car. So I get out of the car. He walks with me. Walk with me, he says. We walk around the back of my car. And he says, is the trunk open? The man's lucky to be alive, frankly. Frankly, just saying. I said, oh. when when we have opportunities, as did my lovely friend Brian, who was the architectural engineer, he would explain to the board that the condo fees, when spread out in incremental stages along the way, replacing storm windows, replacing floor by floor every year, meant that you didn't buy new storm windows for all the windows. You bought some of them. And so, well, then we'll keep doing it forever. Yes, but it won't make us completely destitute and unable to handle something else that comes along. When you live in these apartment buildings and the parking is inside underground, and the vehicles track in snow and salt and gravel and whatnot, mud from the driving in the summer and the winter, the salt eats away at the concrete. You must pressure clean on a regular basis. You must have experts come in and make sure that the foundations of the garage have not been compromised. And so he would plan for that sort of thing. And he was saying, because we would get together and do this Christmas event every year, so it was always a good catch up. And I said, I would say, so what's on the agenda right now? And he said, well, we're winding down on this and we're starting up on that. And every board meeting, we always have some new tenant who doesn't know why this always is going on. And when it's explained to them, they resent it. They don't resent me for doing it, but they resent the idea that there's always something. And even when it's explained to them that it's less expensive and it gives us more room if we're taking care of things in constructive, careful, pre-planned ways. So the reason I bring that up, the reason I wanted to talk about that aspect of my conversation today, is that how we feel and how we take on our day and how we meet the challenges that come along, that surprise us, that make it difficult to feel okay. The stresses that are happening, the weather, the unstable conditions, concern about our families, our parents, our aging friends and relatives, concern about, gosh, I was hoping that the car would last a little longer. It looks like I'm going to have to try and find something. All of these incremental changes. It's very hot. It's a gazillion degrees, and there's an enterprising maintenance house maintenance company booking furnace maintenance checkups now for August, September, October to get ahead of the curve, because eventually you're going to need to have your furnace checked before winter, right? So why wouldn't you check it now? Why wouldn't you have it done now? Why wouldn't you at least make the booking now? You're not going to turn it on. It's already 5,000 degrees. But why wouldn't you do it when it's not crazy busy? Makes sense, right? And one of the other things that makes sense, that is actually a basic maintenance set of steps and strategies, is giving ourselves the tools and practicing our use of the tools to elevate our moods, to make us feel, if not, I got this, if not, I'm walking here, but to make us feel, okay, that was a good day. That was a good day. Thank you, whoever, thank you. That was a good day. If we can find whatever that trigger mechanism is, if we have to make a Post-it note, and whatever it is that we're going to say on the Post-it note, and write it on several of them and post it all over the house, it's not a bad idea, because we get busy. We forget that self-care is not about fetching and moaning and complaining and being self-indulgent. Self-care is incrementally changing, updating, fixing, diagnosing, planning for our quality of life on an everyday basis, not waiting until a disaster comes. I was talking to a really lovely businessman that I only ever talk to every couple of years, because he's what his business does for me is not something that I need every 15 minutes or every month. And when we get in touch, and it's sort of been, it's a how have you been? And he's had some interesting setbacks in his life in the last year and a half. And I said to him, oh, well, my turn. Got a minute? And then he kept saying, my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then we got down to the business of business. And by the time we got to business, he said, I enjoy all my customers. I love what I do. My customers love what I do. I have great relationships. You are one of my very, very rare customers who is so much fun to catch up with, to talk to share news and information with. I'm almost disappointed when it's time we actually go and do the business, because the friendship is so delicious, so enjoyable. And I said, I am so glad you feel that way, my friend, because I feel the same. And then we conducted our business and we wished each other well. And he said he would get back in touch when he hears from the supplier and all that kind of stuff. And we ended our call. And I walked around smiling all over my face for quite some time after that, because over the years we have become reliably caring and reliably compassionate and reliably supportive of each other. We are friends, we are allies, we are collaborators. It began in business. Many of my friendships, many of them began in business, because I'm a writer, and I'm a connector and a communicator, and I meet all these people who need help with those specific tasks. And gradually over time, as we connect and communicate, we become connected. And as we hung up, and he said, don't make it so long. Just because you needed to order doesn't mean we need to wait that long. And I said, well, phoning is a two-way street. Emailing is a two-way street. He said, yes, you're right. I'm as bad. I'm as guilty as you are. And will we let it go again for as long? I hope not. I hope there will be a time when we think, oh, I need to call him and tell him this. He will love that. And he will feel the same. So Ellen was talking about joy when she said she only wants to do the work that feeds her. And she didn't mean financially, and she didn't mean creatively, and she didn't mean skill wise. She meant, I mean, and all those things are true. You want to do things that feed you, that fuel you, that support you. What she was talking about was there's a there's a magic element in capturing a moment, and then giving to the people who shared that moment with you an opportunity to see the capture as well. It is really quite remarkable. It probably goes as far back as the first photos taken, and people felt, oh my God, you stole me. How did you get me onto that page? And it is a way of keeping a memory visually, where you can just look and say, oh yeah. Well, good morning, Ivana. Good morning. Friendship is the oil that greases life's gears. Freddie, I think you're absolutely right. I think I think all the elements that we all recognize inside friendship: loyalty, support, unconditional trust, safety, sanctuary, togetherness, shared energy, effort, rewards. I think you're absolutely right. I think that is the oil that greases life's gears. And I think the togetherness and the knowing we're not alone, I think all of that makes it easier for us to keep on churning forward. I think you're absolutely right. You're very wise, my friend. So Ellen was saying she likes to be in places where someone brings the joy. She likes to be at events where this is a tangible part of the experience. And one of the things therefore, so this is a long lead up. That's about 20 minutes, long lead up to talk about the fact that if you're in a room anywhere and somebody yawns, pretty much everybody's going to yawn, right? If somebody coughs all of a sudden, if somebody sneezes, hello, what is that? It's not that suddenly everyone is exhausted. It's not that suddenly everyone has something in their throat. It's not suddenly that everybody is suffering from something at the same time. It's not that. These are not symptoms of illness. What they are signals triggered here, therefore ancient, therefore preverbal, therefore we are not conscious of, that our brains create to imitate, to mimic each other. The actual little dooflickies in the brain are called mirror neurons. And the interesting thing that I realized in the study of the brain that I first began doing with a client many years ago, who was talking about the way that the brain can change, the way it can grow new connections. It's called neuroplasticity, and it's flexible and it's fluid, and it can evolve. If we sense a problem, if we wish to teach each other, a parent, a guardian, a leader, an alpha wants to educate the young ones joining the tribe, the children of the tribe. How they do it is by show, because when we're very young, we're all pre-verbal. Show, here's my pen, here's my spoon, put the spoon in the soup, open my mouth, soup goes in. Infant goes, parent does it again. This time faces the spoon to the child, opens the mouth. The child, looking at my mouth, opens their mouth. In goes the soup. The kid goes because they didn't realize what was going to happen on the inside of the mouth right after that. They know now. And then we watch them decide if they like the taste. We watch them decide if the heat or the chill works for them. And if it doesn't, we know about it. And if it does, we know about it right away. Okay, so how we learn to do everything other than blinking and swallowing and breathing is learned behavior. And in fact, some of the other things like yawning, like coughing, like blinking, if I stare at you and I do this, you're going to start doing it. What that is I am teaching you something. I am teaching you a behavior. You are naturally hardwired to learn my behavior by copying me. When it's in a situation where somebody yawns, typically we yawn, not because we're tired. It's because we're tired. We're not breathing as deeply. And so the body yawns to get more oxygen in immediately. And that boost of oxygen fuels the red blood cells, and all of a sudden we're perky. So when we do these behaviors, we are triggering mirrored reflections of that. If we always, back in the day when many people smoked cigarettes, everywhere you went, every transition place, you walk into a building, you sit down, people would take out cigarettes and light one. You go to a restaurant, you sit down, you take out a cigarette, menu comes along. The cigarette was the transition thing to do with your hands when you didn't know what to do with your hands in a new place. So you didn't feel dumb. As long as I'm busy, and I know what I'm doing to keep busy, I'm not ignorant, I'm not stupid, I'm not the dummy in the room. Everybody who was smoking did the same. And so it became a cultural phenomenon. Now that people are no longer smoking as often in public or at all, people are finding other things to do. They're checking their phones. So before the phone, it was a cigarette. Before the cigarette, I think it was probably snuff. Before snuff, I have no idea. I have no idea what it could possibly have been. But as you look through the trends in society, we have always found something to do to keep ourselves busy upon arrival. So we don't stand out. Why don't we want to stand out? Okay, watering hole in the jungle. The reason all the animals all stand together and they all try to look the same is so that they don't stand out, and the saber-tooth whatnot doesn't say, oh, look, lunch. It stares at all these animals and says, oh, doesn't look like there's any lunch. It's all that sea of brown. Let's go over here. Everything that we do that is a survival mechanism, that is a triggering mechanism that the body is self-regulating and self-righting and resetting on a normal, regular maintenance basis, like my friend Brian, the architectural engineer, the subconscious brain is maintaining every day, all the time. It's time to blink. It's time to breathe. It's time to swallow. It's time to make the heart go boom, boom. All of those basic maintenance functions are managed on a consistent rotating basis. The question that I had that I wanted to talk about is, if yawning is contagious, why not giggling? If lighting the cigarette and taking out the phone is contagious as a thing to do between the other things to do, why isn't smiling? Why isn't sitting down, looking around and smiling? Why isn't nodding at people the thing to do? Acknowledging their existence. Hello. Every time I go down into the lobby of my building, I say hello to somebody. Why? Because they're there. You know, when you walk into some place and you're the only person there, and then somebody else comes in and they ignore you and they say nothing? Don't you feel special? Why are they ignoring me? Well, have you said anything to them? No. Okay, say something to them. Watch what happens. Hello. They say, oh, hi. All of a sudden, it's a totally different situation. So why isn't, if giggling is contagious, and by the way, it is. By the way, if I start giggling, somebody else will giggle. Somebody else will start laughing before they even know what I've done. They're sure I've done something. They would put money on the fact that I've done something. You know, one of the things that I added at the booth this year, I found miniature squishies, squishmallows. I found them in a bulk lot at some discount place, and I thought, huzzah! So I bought some. I brought them with me. This is a skunk. See, you can tell, and it's a really soft, silly tail, and he's got. I have to bring him closer. Am I doing it the right way? Look at that face. Look at that face. How can you not mirror that smile? How can you not? Look at his eyelashes. It's got eyelashes. It's an Abby skunk. All right. See how easy that was? So the adults were difficult to persuade. Abby doesn't follow the trends. Abby is the trend. Yeah. And get out of the way. So adults were not very keen on the squishies. Oh, we have some of those at home. We have some. Yeah, okay. That's not the point. Stop having an adult conversation about them. I'm trying to reach your inner child. So I would look for a kid and I would say, I want to show you something. Have you seen these? Kid goes, and so then I'd pick one up. I'd pick up that one because it looks like me, right? And I go, look. And immediately the kid would go, and they're smiling. They look at the parent and they're laughing. And I thought, good, job done. Job done. Everything done at a live event on a hot day that people paid a ticket fee to join, that involved them getting off the couch, putting on pants, getting in the car, driving. And the day got hotter and hotter and hotter. And they could just as easily have stayed home. But they came. The least I can do, and I mean the least, it's not just an expression, the least I can do is make them say, oh, that was fun. Why do I want them to say that? I want them to say that because that's how they feel. I want them to say that because when was the last time you said it? When was the last time you said, oh, how crazy, but did you see the bubble machine? Awesome. They go because they're going to collect stuff. You don't hear very often saying, oh my God, they've got this. You don't hear it that often because mostly the people who are collecting know what's out there and they're coming to get one. And they haven't got a fever pitch excitement about it. They've got a done. So I want to trigger the inner child wonder. I want to trigger the inner child what if. I want to trigger the moment that little click goes in your brain and you say, I want more of this. I want more of this. You may not hear yourself say it, but it means that you're going to make it a priority. I've heard, I've been very grateful for people who say, and within my, hearing, we go to all of Abby's shows. We never miss. Why not? Because it triggers their sense of wonder. They may think they know what I'm going to do. Oh, she's doing this play. Oh, I love that show. Let's go see her do it. Okay. Okay. They're also, if they've been to more than one, they also want to see what else I'm going to do, because there is always another thing I do to create the element of surprise, the element of positive surprise, not that kind of surprise, but oh, did you see it? That kind of surprise? Why? Why am I doing that? Because it awakens joy. It changes the way we breathe. It gives us a reset on what was I doing here today? What was my, oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm living here. I'm here. That's what I was doing today. I'm here. Are you having fun? No. All right. Why not? Oh, I don't know. Got stuff. No, I don't know. We have a choice. Really? I'm mowing the lawn. Okay. All right. You can still have fun with it. You can still have fun talking with somebody. You can still say, come over and help me. What do you want me to do? Just stand there and make me laugh because I'm mowing the lawn for minutes. How long have I been out here now? 3 years? And so the maintenance chores aren't necessarily fun. However, if we structure the process in such a way that let's say chapter, each completed chapter is an opportunity to celebrate. My apartment is fairly small. If you went to Fanaticon and you saw all the stuff in that booth, all that stuff, everything, it's in my apartment when it's not there. All of it. I have no idea how. I just keep putting it in closets and shutting doors. And so I go room by room. What can I store here? Where can I store it here? And then I pull out all the other stuff and I find ways to, coordinate. And then I close everything and I stand back and I say, okay, that's one. I don't then immediately go and do the next one. At the end of the first one, I do something else. I have a coffee, or I eat something, or I answer a couple of emails, or I get on the phone with somebody that I really like. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that to anchor the completion of a necessary task in an act that fills me with upbeat energy, that gives me my joy fix. And then freshly recharged, my joy meter is at the top, I start the next one. I begin the next one on full tank joy. I work my way through, and some of the stuff is exhausting and difficult and stupid, and one of my carryovers from being a military kid is the sight of boxes, cardboard boxes. It's not traumatic. It's an annoyance, because it means that I'm either in the middle of packing or I'm in the middle of unpacking. And one of those two things, both of those things, are connected to moving, which is my least favorite thing in the world. So I have to ready myself for that. And I'm smarter than being able to say to myself, you'll feel great when it's over, because then my brain says, what's wrong with you? Who do you think you're talking to? I'm going to feel exhausted when it's over. What is the matter with you? So instead, what I do is I find something that triggers a feeling, not the logic, not the sequence, if this, then that. No, no. I find something that gives me the opportunity to say, okay, all right, that was great. Great break. Back we go to get it done. Do I drag my feet before I get started? Of course I drag my feet before I get started. Have we just met? So it's Thursday, okay? We came back to my apartment at 7 o'clock Sunday night. We unloaded 2 cars full of stuff. It is all still against the wall in the hallway leading from my door, pretty much almost to this room. Why haven't you just done it? Well, because I was tired and there have been other pressing things to do, and because it's hateful. Thank you. So is it happening? Yes, it's happening. I'm doing more today, and yes, I'm doing more tomorrow. And by the end of the weekend, I'll be back. I'll be good, right? I know this is the process. However, in the planning of the process, I also plan that I'm going to find something joyful to give myself a reward, a treat, a thank you that will re-energize me because we're worth it. The joy matters. And now, what is so cool, as I was writing all of this, I said here, why don't we initiate the contagious moves that make us feel joy? Because they're unconscious, because we do them on autopilot. In exactly the same way that we shift our mindset in order to change our lives. Yawning, coughing, sneezing, breathing hard, feeling anxious, giggling. This is us. This is proof that we are expert, lifelong experts at the process I call Pivotry in motion. We are shifting the way we're thinking to respond to something going on, to come up with an attitude, a mood, or an attack so that we own that moment, so that we are not worried. We are not helpless. We are not the standout animal that the saber-tooth whatnot says, oh, there's lunch right there. We are brilliant, innately from birth, taught over and over. We have mirror neurons in our brain. This is how slick we are at pivoting. First the mind, then the energy, then the move. We do it all the time, every day. That's why we're so good at it. The reason we don't know, the reason we lose our confidence, the reason we don't automatically choose joy, the reason we don't say, why is everybody sneezing? I'm not going to sneeze, and not sneeze, is because we're not aware that we're doing it. We're not aware that we have this brilliant, brilliant skill. The minute you discover that you're good at something, I've learned how to dry dishes today. That's because I finally washed some. Once we know we can do a thing, all right then. We have something that tells us we're capable. We have something that makes us feel valuable. The tribe is really going to like me. They're not going to kick me out because I know how to do this now. We have huge resources of skills to recover. What we don't have is the knowledge that we have them. We're not aware. And on top of not aware, while people have been busy teaching us how to have soup on a spoon, soup, mouth, they haven't taught us where to go and get it, the idea, the skill, when we need it. They haven't shown us how we work that equation because we're not aware that we actually have a process. Why aren't we aware? Because it's back here. All the motivators, all the coaches, all the trainers, all of the go-get-ems, you can do it. All of the therapists, all of the counselors forget that because they're not conscious of it either. And so every single person, that may be why I shy away from things that I'm not sure. Yes, yes, that is exactly why. It's not a may, it's exactly why. Why do you think I'm doing these videos? So how we fix that? Well, you need to have somebody who A, is aware. Hello. You have to have somebody who has been aware for a long time. Hello. You need somebody who knows how to communicate a set of steps to create a pattern of behavior that can become an automatic skill. Hello. You need somebody who deeply, deeply, deeply would like everybody to be living in a better frame of mind because it's exhausting wading through toxic dreck. Thanks. You know, I walk into a room and I can sense the sludge and I think, all right, here we go. And I'm fast, boy. Even people, it's very funny. I was talking to Carol the other day and she said, you know, I always like walking into a room with you. I said, well, I always like walking into a room with you. And she said, that's not what I mean. What do you mean, Carol? She said, I like watching you gear up. I like watching you engage. I like seeing your flags come up and the ship turn. It's so cool. She said, it's so quick. And I said, you do something very similar. And she said, yes, yes. And she does, but it's not remotely the same. Not remotely. She said, though, the reason I enjoy watching your what my reset is, I take a deep breath, you know, and I don't do a, oh God, here we go. It's not that. It's just like a, and I shift in. I shift into it's showtime. Not that I'm faking anything. I'm just going to bring everybody along in my energy with me, slowly, gradually bring them out of where they were into where it's just easier and better and more fun for everybody. And then once they're there and I've done my thing, then I just move on. And they stay there because why wouldn't they? Until it kind of winds down. I don't want to hold people hostage to that. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be a therapist. Why? Well, because people keep coming back. What I want to do is say, here's what's wrong. Bonk. Don't do it. That'll be $100. I like the really simple, clear Viking therapy. And why did you do that? Because you're doing this. And every time you do this, I will do that. Oh, okay. So what I want to give people with Pivotry in Motion, and I've talked about this quite a bit, so we all know where I'm coming from with it if you've been watching the videos. I can adapt more readily, more easily, more resourcefully than many people because of my military upbringing. As a result, I can see that the struggle people go through because they resist change that was thrust upon them. I know that I could, would help them struggle less if I just showed them how it works. I know because I've taught people for decades. COVID, the pandemic, the uncertainty, the exhaustion, the feelings of abandonment, all of the stresses, the five stresses, right? Death, uh, disease, job loss, identity loss, moving, all of that was all wrapped up in a pretty box tied with a bow called COVID. COVID was the umbrella experience of all of the five major abandonment stresses that we deal with that cost us the most in life. And I saw it, and I said, I could help them. I could help them. Not that I'm Mother Teresa. What I need to do is I need to come up with a concept, a plan, a name, a framework for it, and then start putting it out there and start giving people an opportunity to find it familiar. And then start pointing out things saying, you know that Pivotry thing I talk about? Yeah. See this? You do that all the time. You're already an expert at it. You just don't know it because it's not that you don't know, it's that we don't know because it's back here. If I can bring it into the forward, we're all good at it. And then the next crisis, do we still have to tap dance frantically? Yes. No matter how maintained, planning, forward thinking we are, the stress of it still requires conscious, deliberate action. It always has, it always will. The difference is once you know how good you are innately, once you know by practicing with me, by working with me, by listening to these videos and going away and thinking about it and saying, I do that all the time. I do it all the time. Look at that. I do that all the time. Write it down. Put it on a thing. Make it verbal instead of pre-verbal. Every time something happens, I deal with it and win. Boof. Everywhere. Post-it notes everywhere. Every time something happens, I deal with it and win. It's clunky. Doesn't matter. We are rewiring your conscious brain to understand that we have the ability to free ourselves to be whatever it is we dream of being. We have the ability to own every moment we find ourselves in. It's not a lot of work. You don't have to go back to school. You don't have to throw out every item in your linen closet or your pantry. You don't have to, go to the gym 35 times a week and do this many push-ups. No, it's none of that. You have to recognize that you're doing it. I don't know how to do that. Of course you don't. None of us do. It's back here. We can't see it. It's back here. When we turn around, it's still back here and we still can't see it. We cannot see that forest. We are the tree. But I can show you. I am showing you these videos and beautifully, luxuriously for many hours on Sunday. I invited everyone to step in through the keyhole to the other side, where the joy lives, where the automatic reaction that is spontaneous was visible for anyone to see. We were talking after the fact, and I said, it was a little like what goes on backstage, a little like what goes on in the recording studio, a lot like what goes on in a television studio and in a tech rehearsal right before we're ready to do the show in front of the paying audience. It's the backstage, it's the behind the scenes blooper reels that people just love. Well, that was my booth. My booth was a blooper reel in real time. And we were doing it shamelessly in front of the audience because every time the audience stepped into the booth, they were part of the blooper reel. And the difference between a raging, running out of control downhill disaster and what we were doing is that we are trained professionals. When we mess it up, we do it right. What happened was, I don't mean that. What I mean is when something went wrong, it didn't terrify us. When something went wrong, it didn't, it did surprise us sometimes quite remarkably. However, we were ready. We were resilient. We were resourceful, quick on our feet, quick thinking. John Major, boof, not deliberately, but camera, and there's a person right there, and he's 6 feet tall, so his elbow is right here. Boof out, sorry. Mind your back. And every time he hit Barb, who's at the desk taking money, and she's going, hey. Nobody's saying, John, you have to be more careful. No. He's busy. He won't hear you. Tell him. Quit hitting me in the head with the camera. What? Sorry. Busy. She knew he wasn't doing it on purpose. If he was doing it on purpose, that would have been a whole other thing. Kabong. It wasn't any of that. And people came to the booth. So the feather boas are there, and the laughter is there, and the joy is there, and the silliness is there. And then I had the right crew, and we were all on the same page. We were in step. We were aware of each other and thinking of each other. I'm going to get a bottle of water. You want some water? Every time, very quick. We made everything very easy and accessible and simple and fun to look at. We did that partly for us. We did it mostly for them. And we did it in general terms because that is how we do it. We make a space look in such a way that people say, ooh, what's over there? So there were, 50 booths and mine. And what was the difference? Well, the difference was that my booth was animated. My booth, in and of itself, with nobody in it, had so many interesting and connected and curious things that people said, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, she's got mirrors on. I thought for a second, I was looking at these people and I was wondering how they got in that opening, but I realized I'm looking at me. There. What is that? Oh my God, look at she's got the feather boas again. My booth had an energy all its own. My booth was the joy. All we did was wake it up and hand it out and sprinkle it on people like fairy dust. Now, here's my point. We all have that ability. Every one of us has that ability. We don't know we have it because it's back there. So we lean in and we mirror what happens most in front of us. We mirror to blend in with the majority. And right now, the majority are not having a very nice time. Right now, the majority are worried a lot of the time. Right now, the majority are exhausted. And so we are mirroring that. And it has to stop. And I am going to stop it. So Pivotry in Motion, we're going to be doing training. We're going to be doing personal training. We're going to be doing career training, business training, how to get the most out of my job. If I decide I'm an entrepreneur and I want to start a business, how to have the most best time doing that, that energizes and every day makes me say, best decision I ever made. I'm going to teach that. And then I'm going to do it at the corporate level. I'm going to talk to people who are in charge of teams, in charge of productivity, in charge of uh, uh, morale, all of that stuff, productivity. And the reason I'm going to talk about it to those people in a different way is because those people are dealing with personal issues, career issues, and corporate issues. Theirs is the the executive training, because inside every executive, inside every corporate decision maker, there's a person. There's somebody who always wanted a special career, who married or never got to marry, who found a companion or never did, moved to find the place they'd always wanted to live or never quite made it. All of that personal, career, life, relationship, all of that lives inside the corporate person who shows up in the suit with the briefcase with the hat. When it goes wrong at the corporate level, I call it executive grief. It's because the executive function, if then, should I do it, should I not, is so damaged, is so exhausted, is so drained. We can't think. We start to second guess. We lose our confidence. And how on earth do we lead when all of that is missing? How on earth do we have the energy and the drive and the purpose and the intention to put our socks on in the morning, let alone make corporate decisions with thousands of lives depending on them? It has to start at the personal level. It has to take us to the career level, which is, by the way, personal. Plus, now I have to take time out of my day to follow this. It means that I love me and I love my mom and I love my dad and I love my sister and I love my dog and I love my cat and I love my house. And now I have a new relationship. So now I have to find time to love my career. There's only 24 hours in a day. What do I give up here in order to pursue that? And when I become corporate and it's my career on steroids with sprinkles on top and one of those candles you can't burn out, what happens when there's something wrong in my private life, in my personal life? What happens when my dog dies? What happens when my spouse, my friend, my partner leaves? What happens when there's a tornado? I'm barely hanging on at the personal level. I can't remember why I wanted my career. How the hell am I going to make corporate decisions? How is that even remotely possible? Just a second here. Yes, hang on a second. I just have to do this one thing. Hang on 1 second. This is very important. Very, very important. Okay. I will come back to it. What I want you understanding is that anything that is not working for you is not because you're not capable. It's because you don't understand how amazing you are. You are incredible. And we are going to make you aware of that. I promise. And you're going to love it. Talk about joy. Okay, that's it for today. I will see you next week. I promise there will be photos. I promise there will be this. I promise there will be that. All the things I'm promising next week, because I have the list. In the meantime, I want you to be good to you. I want you to think about this episode. I want you to think about joy. I want you to think about words like joy and I deserve. Write them down, post-it them, because you do deserve. And remember to hug your loved ones. Thank you so much for watching. You make everything worthwhile. And I will catch you next time.